Everybody. The energies are really intensifying at the moment, and that is because it is almost full moon in Aries. So, full moon in Aries tomorrow. So you might feel sort of almost like, a cat on a hot tin roof at the moment, feeling like, oh, can't sit still, perhaps feeling a bit restless because Aries is a fire sign and ruled by Mars, so it really compels us to do something, to take action, usually to appease feelings of irritation and frustration and anger. Hi, Rod, thanks for joining me. So, I felt to speak today about the power of our choices. Yeah, you're feeling it too, Tina. Um, because given that, it's the full moon being about our inner self, our feelings, our emotions, and this is also about our personal relationships. So the action that we take, the choices that we make, impact those closest to us, and vice versa. The choices of the people that we love, our friends, our family, our lovers, they really impact us. So, my sense, and also in my experience, that this is the nature of this initiation at this time. It's when the choices get really close to home and the impact is very much between us and our loved ones. So, I just wanted to sort of explore this topic because our choices, they literally set the course of our lives. Okay, it's like every single choice reorients our trajectory. Okay, it's whether we turn left or right. And so we never truly know the impact of our choices until after we've made them. Yeah, because from where we sit now, we might think that our choice is very limited. Okay, and so we might think, oh, well, these are my only options. But if we make a choice that really aligns with our deepest core values as a soul, what opens up for us are opportunities that we couldn't see, okay? Because we had to step over, we had to do that leap of faith in order to then open up a new playing field of possibilities that align with that value system. So if you're feeling tightly bound up, and in the myth of Aries, this is what happens. He gets put in a jar and he feels like he's going to combust, right? So if you're feeling backed into a corner, if you're feeling like, oh, I can't see the wood for the trees, it's like I can't see any other choices. So, um, you know, just know that you're not able to see all the potential options that are available to you from where you sit now. But if you honor what is most resonant with your heart, the heart will always expand the options. Whereas if we look at things from the mind goes into a state of contraction. The mind goes into what's the most secure thing to do, what's the safest thing to do. So the every choice in our lives is basically, am I going to be listening and governed by my head or my heart? And even though our head sits up here and our heart sits here, when we're making decisions from the level of the mind, which is the lower intelligence, the 10% rational mind, it means that we've slipped down into solar plexus, okay? And this is the seat of will. This is like, but I want it. This is when we're, imposing our will, okay, and saying, this is what I want. But this is like someone aged between the age of 14 to 21, because we journey each one of these energy centers every 7 years. And when we get to 49, we start the process again. So it's the third 7 year cycle between the age of 14 to 21 that we are rationally dominant. And this is when we tend to, seek out others' opinions, and we want to know what others think, what others are doing. We might look to experts, who's, the people that are respected, and listen to them rather than attuning to our own conscience, our own inner authority, our heart. So, because we're living in a culture that had all rites of passage outlawed 2,000 years ago back in Rome, we haven't, for a lot of people, haven't been through that individuation process to know their own mind, to actually individuate from the opinions and the beliefs of society at large, of their family of origin, of their culture. So if we haven't even individuated, okay, we don't even know what our deepest core values are. And so when we are faced with a really difficult choice, the opportunity in that is to confront ourselves. It's to go within and to sit with that inner conflict. And that is not comfortable. That's when we can feel like a cat on a hot tin roof. It's like, sometimes these decisions may be gut-wrenching, heart-wrenching, particularly when they involve family or partner. So, this is when what really reveals itself is our level of maturity, okay? Psychological and emotional maturity. Because if we are emotionally and psychologically immature, we will look to please others, okay? So the choices we make will be to keep the peace, will be to appease people, okay? So that there isn't conflict, because we're not comfortable with conflict. Whereas if we practice sitting with the conflict within us and really explore, if I make this choice, do a guided visualization with yourself and follow the trajectory of that choice. And then look at what would happen if I made the other choice and follow the trajectory of that choice, okay? And that's a process that I've led people through in retreats, and I find it really helpful because, you can't always see the long-term impacts of a choice. So we can, particularly around full moon in Aries, because Aries is the youngest of the 12 zodiac signs, we can just make a rash choice because we just want to end our suffering, okay? And that's when we can be destructive, such as taking our life, okay? Or acting out and saying something we're going to later regret, or doing something we're going to later regret. But we're doing it just to stop that internal torment between the head and the heart. So the more that we can learn to sit with the discomfort of my head wants to do this because I'm scared. I'm scared of losing the love of those around me. I'm scared of losing maybe your job, maybe, your acceptance from your social circle, whatever the stakes may be. Meanwhile, you've got that quiet voice that says, I don't want to do that. Yeah? And the degree to which we honor that quiet voice flags how mature, how present our inner parent is. Because if our inner parent isn't developed, we'll dismiss that quiet inner voice in the heart in order to gain acceptance, approval, security, safety, the payoff, okay? The devil's bargain. Whereas if the inner parent is really there for us, we are our own advocate, our own best friend. Okay, we are the ones that know for the rest of my days, I'm the one who's got to live within my thoughts and feelings. I'm the one that has to inhabit this space. And if I dismiss that quiet inner voice that says, I don't want to do that, okay, then only us is going to be most impacted by that choice. Okay, and if we think the inner conflict is tough before a decision, imagine what it's like if we betray that inner voice. That choice can haunt us for the rest of our lives. And when we betray our feelings, our feeling function, which is the heart that says, I'm feeling resistance, I'm feeling I don't want to do this, okay, it then leads to a shutting down of the heart, okay, because we don't want to confront what we've done to ourselves, how we've betrayed ourselves. So this leads to more and more escapism. And we've only got to look at our culture. We are groomed to constantly escape listening to our feelings, whether it's television, sports, social media, gambling, Netflix. I mean, it is constant the way that we are being told that it's normal to spend most of our lives disconnected from our feelings. So our greatest challenge in these transition times is to feel. And that can be excruciating, particularly as we come up to a full moon, which is like the high tide. Given that we are between 65 and 70% water in our bodies, this is when our emotions run highest. And so this is when we're most likely to act from emotion, okay? i.e., doing something out of codependency, out of need to keep someone near us as our emotional comfort, like a teddy bear, okay, for a young child, so that we don't have to face our fear of being alone. I want to share something with you. Last night I went to a restaurant and I bought this painting. I don't know if you can see it. You can see this picture. This is of Yemanya. She is the Brazilian Aphrodite. And Yemanya, I bought this because I have a vision of building a Moroccan style moon lodge out of mud. And I bought her as an affirmation that I will manifest the money to do that so that she can hang inside the temple. Because in the moon lodge, we learn how to become more emotionally mature by listening to our feelings and acknowledging what we really feel so that we can make choices that are truly accountable to our soul. So people that aren't sitting in circle on a regular basis often make choices where they don't even realize they're betraying themselves in order to gain something or try to gain something externally. Okay. So if we understand the archetypal energies that are at play here, Aphrodite or Yemanya, who I just showed you, and Aries, the warrior, are the two archetypes that sit in the emotional center, known as the sacral chakra in Sanskrit. And so learning how to balance these forces of love and war, okay, is our lesson between the age of 7 to 14 years of age. Now, if we grew up in a very volatile family situation, and let's face it, most of our parents weren't initiated into rites of passage to individuate from their parents and monthly circles to mature emotionally and psychologically. So most of us were raised by children or teenagers in adult bodies. And so our homes were often very volatile emotionally and psychologically. So the role models that we've had for Aphrodite and Aries have been shadow expressions, okay? And so we're having to access maps and templates for how to embody these archetypes in an empowered way, in a conscious way, so that we're making choices that calm the inner sea rather than create drama, okay, emotional drama. And we've been conditioned to think that emotional drama is love, okay? You know, all the love songs that we hear on commercial radio, um, you know, it's very much about need being dressed up as love. And so when people are in relationships where they need each other emotionally, where they're two halves and it's combative, you know, they fight and then they fuck to make up sort of thing, you know, but it's like two teenagers, okay? Then we're more likely to make choices that are about keeping the other one rather than really being true to ourselves. So this is because we've been raised in a war culture. And I speak about this in more depth in my latest book, The Grail. And I'm doing a live about that on the full moon. If you want to join me at 11:11, I will post the recording as well. So yeah, join me for that. It's basically a Q&A about the first chapter, so you can access the first chapter free on my website, themoonwoman.com. But, you know, we've been raised in a war culture in that, you know, we've had this kind of, you've got to line up for school, we have ritualized warfare on the sports field, and men are groomed to think that it's normal that they should sacrifice their physical bodies for glory, for power and status, and that women should cheer them on the sidelines. Okay, so all of this is anchored at a very deep subconscious level within our group mind. And so we don't question this because it's normal, okay? Just like a fish doesn't question that it's swimming around in water. It's like, well, this is just how it is. This is our culture. But at the top of this hierarchical structure that we've been in, division is used as a tactic to rule, okay? Because if we're fighting amongst ourselves, i.e. in immature relationships, if that's tumultuous, or with our families, or you know, with people on social media, we're not necessarily, we don't have the energy to look at the big picture and go, what is wrong with this? And what action can I take to create a better society? Because we're so caught up in the daily drama, the conflict. So when we're given ultimatums that come, you know, from the top down, okay, this creates inner war, inner conflict between our head and our heart. And we haven't been taught how to deal with conflict, okay? This isn't something that we're taught in school. It's not something that our parents were necessarily taught how to do conflict resolution skills. So again, this is something that we tend to enact what we grew up being a party to. And that is often very dysfunctional human relating. But again, we take it as normal. So in order to try and keep the peace, to avoid drama and outer conflict, those that are more sensitive will often swallow their feelings in order to appease the more dominant ego, the person who is more volatile, who's more angry and more aggressive. And this creates a very unconscious power dynamic in the home, in the family, in the relationship, where the aggressor is ruling. That could be through passive aggression, okay? They get in a bad mood, okay, and they withhold their love, and everyone's feeling tense and terse around them because they don't know how they're going to respond. Okay, and that means that people then appease the bully. Okay, and in doing that, they betray themselves, or they betray others in the family unit in order to appease the bully. This is what happens in a culture that hasn't had circle, because circle, the construct of a circle is that we share power. When we pass a talking stick, okay, we affirm that everyone's voice is equally important. Whereas when we've grown up in these power structures that are hierarchical, based on our hierarchical power structures in society, we don't question that someone is the controller. Somebody is ruling and everybody else is complying. Okay, we just accept that, oh, well, I don't like it, but I'm going to have to do that. And it's not until we find our internal authority and we question that, we question our beliefs, and we go, is this really how it always has to be? Okay. So that means that we have to mature. You know, Stephen Hawking, probably one of the most intelligent men that ever was, he said that our intelligence is based on how much we question. And as children, we stop questioning because we can see that it tires our parents, okay, that it pisses them off because we're always asking, but why? But why? And they don't have the answers. So we kind of learn again to comply by just do what you're told, do what everyone else is doing, you know, follow the herd, rather than question everything because you'll just piss everybody off. But if we don't question everything, we don't grow, we don't learn, and we don't see the delusion that we're operating in because of the illusions that have been indoctrinated within our psyche. So if we are immature psychologically and emotionally, like a child, we just want quick gratification, okay? Because of FOMO, fear of missing out, okay? Fear of not being able to play with our friends, or fear of not being able to, you know, go to a particular festival, or, you know, so just like a parent would punish a child if they were in that punitive mindset rather than restorative justice that gets down and chats to the child and helps them to question their choices and their motivations. A punitive parent, okay, or a punitive government or a punitive employer, any punitive authority figure withholds, they punish, okay, so that you react by doing what they want if you're immature, rather than sitting with the inner torment, the inner conflict, and questioning your motivations, and turning that mirror around and going, but why? But why do I want that? But why do I want that? And going deeper and deeper by continuing to ask why. Again, this is one of the ways we develop the inner parent that takes responsibility for the choices that the inner child and the inner teenager make. So if we're only operating at the level of child or teenager, so from the emotional center or from the rational lower mental bodies, we don't have access to the big picture, okay? So we don't know what's really at stake, okay? We've only got 10 to 20% of the picture, okay? We know what's emotionally at stake, we know what's mentally at stake, but we don't know what's at stake in terms of our feelings, how we feel about ourselves, whether or not we'll lose self-respect. We don't know what's at stake in terms of the etheric body, okay, which is how this will impact our healing journey as a soul, because every time we incarnate into a physical existence, we come here to heal at a deeper level. We don't know how that will impact us on a deep subconscious level, okay, which is what the third eye governs, those deep descents to the underworld to look at the subconscious, the group beliefs that we've actually bought into. And we don't know how it's going to impact us on a galactic level, at the level of the crown chakra. So our trajectory as a soul. And I'm doing an event on the 11th of November at 11:11 here, local time in Australia, about the impact of what we're now dealing with on a galactic level. So if you want to find out about that, it's called Shift into the Light, and it's about our shift into the galactic age of light, into the photon belt. So whilst things seem very dark now, if we make a choice that is based on the dark fears and limitations of the mind, we will potentially limit ourselves from being able to access the full galactic trajectory that is available to us very, very imminently in 2022. So this is a time not to act out like a little child that just wants quick gratification. You know, they did a scientific experiment years ago with the marshmallow. You know, who would just do something in order to get another marshmallow? It's kind of like the training of Pavlov's dog, you know. So you know, we are responding more like an animal, the monkey mind, than a conscious being if our choices are motivated by quick gratification, i.e. getting our wants, rather than understanding the full spectrum of our needs. So, you know, we are likely to, when we make mature decisions, understand this does involve sacrifice, okay, that we will miss out on some of our ego's desires, okay, and we're going to have to process that. We're going to have to feel the disappointment and feel the grief, feel the loss. So at the moment we are experiencing a stripping back, okay, a loss of this and a loss of that and a loss of this and a loss of that, and it's taking us deeper and deeper, like getting to the bones, okay, of what really motivates us. You know, what are my core values? What am I willing to give up and what am I not? Okay, so this is a very helpful process because it's showing us who we are. So that means we need to go internal. We need to journal. We need to sit and contemplate. We need to lie in bed for hours. We need to reflect. Okay, this is positive Aphrodite. Okay, she who allows time for the inner waters to become still so that we can reflect and contemplate and look at the possible potential trajectory of our choice, rather than shoot first, ask questions later, which is shadow Aries, when we make rash decisions and then regret it, have remorse, because, you know, we were acting on the opinions of others or on seeking approval from others, rather than on really knowing ourselves, on knowing the full spectrum of who we are as a soul, not just the ego, which is the physical, the emotional, and the mental. Okay, now we've been groomed and conditioned to just see ourselves as personalities, which is the ego, to only think about our physical needs, our emotional needs, and our mental needs. And if we're operating at that level of the game, okay, we're making choices from a limited perspective, okay, and that keeps us in samsara, the wheel of what they call fortune or fate, but it's the wheel of karmic consequences. So how do we learn? Through making a choice and having to live it out, the consequences of our actions, because there isn't enough forethought. You know, like the saying, fools rush in, where angels fear to tread. So we're being called at the moment to awaken our angelic selves by pausing, by not rushing in, and by doing due diligence and awakening our perspective, the full spectrum of our light, not just the bottom three energy centers, which are red, orange, and yellow, the three colors that are used by fast food restaurants, that just want to appeal to our quick gratification lower self. We need to awaken the full spectrum of our light, which is the rainbow bridge, and become rainbow warriors, so that our perspective gives us more options. Okay, we can see the trajectory of our choices, not just physically, emotionally, and mentally, but on all levels, the cost, the potential cost of our choices. So it's never been more vital a time to expand our awareness. And the way that we do that is by understanding, piecing together the archetypes that govern the 7 energy centers, which are the full colors of the rainbow, okay? Because if we're operating unconsciously on the conditioning that we've received by society, chances are our archetypes, the psychological aspects that comprise our soul, are making unconscious decisions, okay? Not decisions or choices that are truly informed and truly aware. So first we need to get a handle on understanding how our archetypes are running us, either as saboteurs, creating a drama-based negative trajectory, entropy, or how we can make more empowered choices at each one of those 7 gates, so that we create a trajectory of living heaven on earth rather than hell on earth. So for the last 25 years, I've been teaching people how to understand the archetypes that are a map to our soul, to embodying the full spectrum of our light. In the ancient world, this was, commonplace. Women would do the descent of Inanna or Ishtar, which is the descent of Venus, to meet and empower their 7 feminine archetypes. And my first book, The Inner Goddess Makeover, is about that, if you're interested to know more, for the sisters out there. For the guys, I am running a course that starts 1st of November, and it goes for 7 weeks, and I guide you through identifying the shadow behaviors, the unconscious choices that each one of your archetypes that govern the chakras are making, and show you how to make more positive choices at each one of those 7 gates to empower the 7 facets of your manhood or your masculine expression. This is how to awaken the sacred masculine. And the sacred masculine is something that has been feared, okay, by those in power, because when the serpents of Kundalini awaken, which are the serpents of light, the meridians of consciousness, which are activated when we unlock, the archetypes act as keys to unlocking the 7 gates so that we can open our multi-dimensional perspective, okay? And when we awaken those meridians, when the serpents rise, the people rise. So if our consciousness is, if it has a lid on it, okay, if it is limited, then we won't question authority. We'll bow our heads, we will comply. Whereas if we awaken our consciousness, then we are our own inner authority, because we have direct access to the quantum field of infinite divine intelligence, okay? And we know within a millionth of a second, at the speed of light, what is true and what is illusion. So we are not persuaded or coerced by the so-called facts or opinions or propaganda or rhetoric of others, or the charisma of others, Yeah, we know we are self-governing and sacred because we have awakened our consciousness. And this is what it is to be a rainbow warrior. And I've got a little teaser, a little taster. There's a free video series that's on at the moment, and the link is in the description. And that's for men and women, so I invite you to check that out. But for the men, if you'd like to join me starting November 1st to journey through each of those 7 aspects to awaken your full spectrum of light and prepare for that shift into the photon belt, because you know, this is a huge opportunity, and there's a saying that luck is where preparation meets opportunity. And right now, we're being asked to prepare as souls for our entry into the photon belt, to raise our frequency, to raise our vibration. And this is an opportunity that has been 12,000 years in the making. So this is a window. And those that are attuning to their feeling function are attuning to this trajectory, if you will, of the new earth, okay? The multi-dimensional earth beyond 3D earth. 3D earth is suffering and pain and samsara, as the Buddhists call it. You know, the Buddhists speak about preparing the rainbow body, okay, in order to get off that wheel of karma. And we have this window, which is precious, that we are now currently preparing for. So our challenge, you know, is to not be swayed by the immature, the child within us that just wants everything to, you know, be okay and get what we want now. And in doing that, miss out on an opportunity that you can't even fathom from a lower perspective. So I hope that's timely for you today. I'll go and read any questions now. Trisha broke her celibacy. That's funny. Emma says she's literally been talking about this, the building momentum. Yes, we can feel it. The intensity is getting stronger and stronger. So the crossroads, the crises is coming up to a head right now. And so just like a big zit, a big pimple or a boil, a lot of people are going to boil over. And if we haven't confronted the anger at ourselves for the ways in which we've betrayed our own feelings, we're going to spew that anger out over others. Okay? How dare you question my choices? So if we want to not create conflict out there, we really need to take up the challenge of the Rainbow Warrior, which is taking up the conflict within, the war within, and healing that, which is learning how to sit with the inner conflict between the head and the heart and question our choices, question our motivations, question the trajectory that will set us on, and awaken our awareness so that we really can be aware of all the consequences of our all-important choice. Tina's asked, what if we have a life that feels boring or limited? Good question. So boredom is actually imploded anger and frustration. So, you know, they say a yawn is a silent scream, okay? So if you're like, oh, I hate my job, you're bored in your job because it's not creatively fulfilling. Our soul is creative because our soul is connected with Creator, which is Mother, Father, creative source, okay? If we're not plugged into that, into the great central sun, the Divine Father, and into the center of the earth, the Great Mother, then we don't have this Kundalini, these serpents of light, this life force, the Force, okay? Our Jedi power, our mojo, we don't have this flowing through us. And so we just do what we're told and we feel bored and resentful, okay? Whereas if we plug in, okay, to the mystery of life, okay, to the full spectrum, we feel truly alive. And that means we're going to feel our anger. We're going to feel the intensity of being in the present tense. We're going to feel everything. But the gift in that is we're going to make choices then that really align with our feelings. And that's going to set us on a trajectory of life that is soul fulfilling. Okay? So it's exciting to wake up in the morning and go, I can't wait to live my day, rather than, oh, fuck, another, another day in hell. Okay, I'm going to have a look at some other questions. What if we aren't clear on what our heart wants? Great question, Tina. So that means there's too much imposing information coming in at us, okay? And we've got, whether it's notifications, billboards, ads, we've got shit coming in all the time. So this is a sign, if we don't know what our heart wants, we need to unplug from all of that. We need to take sanctuary. We need to take retreat, okay? And we need to purify. We need to detox from all the incoming information which bamboozles and confuses, and just come home to the intuitive information, the guidance of the inner guru, which means teacher, okay, which is our direct link to the quantum field. Our feelings are our ultimate navigational guidance system, okay? So your feelings have access to the big picture. Whereas if we're weighing up the pros and cons and all the information, we tend to get analysis paralysis. We go around in circles and then we're like, oh, I don't know what to do, so I'll just do this. Yeah? Jane says we need to be living from our hearts. Our heads fill us with fear. Absolutely. I'm just flicking down to see if there's questions. So much gratitude, confirmation of current decisions I've made. Beautiful, Bridget. Thanks for joining me live. How do we develop our inner parent? By listening to your feelings. And you can do that by putting your hand on your heart several times a day and going, how do I feel about this? Or whenever you've got a choice to make, it might be a little choice, might be a big choice where the stakes are high. How do I feel about this? Not how does so-and-so feel about this, okay, and doing it to appease others, but how do I feel about this? And the best place to attune to your feelings is in nature, okay, because our soul is a part of the world soul, which is the heart of the mother, the heart of the father. Okay, so if you don't know what to do, take some time without listening to anything in nature and just sit and breathe into the heart. Okay, come home to yourself, come home to your divine innate intelligence, okay, which connects to the supercomputer of the quantum field of infinite intelligence, which is motivated by love for what's best for you, okay? Not in order to gain something from you. Oh, you're welcome. I'm just seeing if there's any more questions. Yoruba. Oh, thanks, Marina. So, Yamanya is also Limoja and Yoruba to the Japanese. Yeah, she's beautiful. So if you're finding that you're getting really hot-headed and with all the fire, get in the water, okay? Get in the opposite element to help balance yourself. If you're filled with rage, whether that's because of choices people close to you have made, or whether choices that are being imposed upon you, yeah, get in the water, whether that's getting in a bath, getting in a natural water source, like the ocean or a river. But this helps us to just soften, so we're not rigid and going, well, it's either this or that, black and white, and we can go, okay, when I do that, I can go with the flow. I can open up, I can be flexible, I can understand that there will be more than one opportunity for me if I can open to the expanse of the heart. Okay. Can I find your book on Audibles? Do you know what? I actually have plans for the first time to record my Grail book as an audio book in time for the launch. So thank you for asking, Josie. I know for those that are auditory processing, it's much easier. My son is like that, so I've been motivated by love and those of you that have requested it, so thank you. And yeah, I invite you again to join me for 11:11. That's a very powerful window of manifestation, which we've been taught to focus on war, when in fact the opportunity is to focus on love, on what our heart wants to create. So it's a wonderful portal, and I'll be doing a live on that day called Shift into the Light. So do join me for that. We'll be launching details on November 1st and share it with your friends. I'm glad it's relevant for you, Denise. Ah, Kelly's here. Mwah, so nice to have sisters here, and Genevieve. Going in deeper. I purchased a book to learn about archetypes. Great. My books, if you want to learn more about the archetypes, you can find on my website, themoonwoman.com. Lauren's here. Hey, darling. Okay. Oh, God, so many questions and comments. Thanks so much for being here live. So, yes, good to respect anger. We've been taught to fear anger and to shame anger. I know I was shamed a lot for the tantrums that I threw as a wild child, but I've learned to be in right relationship with anger. And what does that mean? It means that I acknowledge when I'm feeling angry. It's like a heat rising in me, okay, like a volcano, and it can feel prickly. And there's 3 very powerful words that we can say, and that is, I feel frustrated, or I feel angry. When we acknowledge it, we take our power back, okay? It's like, yes, this is present. This is alive in me. This is happening. Whereas we've been taught to disassociate, to suppress it, and then it becomes depression. Depression is anger that's been internalized, okay? And rather than really letting and venting out our rage so that we can feel truly alive, okay, we're afraid of it, so we bottle it up, and that implodes like a black sun or a dark star, and then we can be afraid to take any action, okay, because we think, oh, if I take an action I'm going to end up more hurt, or I'm going to hurt others. So we need to learn how to dance with anger. And that starts with just acknowledging it's there, and then we need to move the energy through. So, there's some great music out there. You might find some DJ playlists on SoundCloud, or, 5 Rhythms has music that you can download, particularly the Chaos Wave, where you can do an active meditation in your own lounge room or your own bedroom, where you close your eyes and you move the anger through with movement and with sound. So you're discharging that stagnant, blocked energy that's wanting to blow like a volcano out of your body. And this means that you're not going to detonate when someone triggers your wound, triggers your trauma, and spew your anger all over them and destroy trust and intimacy. Instead, you're taking responsibility for transmuting the anger, okay? For channeling the anger in a creative way, through expression, through creative expression, through moving it out of the cells of your body. Because emotion is energy in motion. It wants to move. When it's coming up, it's saying, hot potato, I've got to move this energy, okay? So Aries, the warrior, was also a dancer, okay? So we can move our inner conflict through. We can move our rage at the system. We can move our rage at the injustice of the world out of our bodies through dance, okay? And that means then that we're calmer and we can rise above the sacral, the emotional center, and just look into what the facts are, okay, acknowledge that, and then come home to our feelings. Because before something becomes a full-blown emotion, down in the sacral, it starts off as a subtle feeling. If we can catch frustration, it won't become anger and it won't become rage. So staying connected with our hearts, with our feeling function, and noticing, oh, that pissed me off. Okay, so what do I need to say? How do I need to honor that feeling? By speaking or by acting. That's how we take right action. That's how we end up in right relationship with ourselves and with others. And it's risky because it means we're going to have to be true to ourselves. We're going to have to speak the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when we're scared of how that person might react or the consequences of us speaking our truth. But the more we practice doing that, the more authentic we are, and the more our life becomes directed by our soul. So it becomes an honest life, okay? Rather than feeling one thing and doing another, putting on the social mask, and life becoming an incongruency, okay? Where we feel people don't really know me, people don't really get me, people don't really love me for who I am, because we're not really being honest. We're not being emotionally honest, we're not being psychologically honest, because that takes courage. That's what it is to be a true warrior of the light. It's to share our feelings moment to moment and to take responsibility for processing our own feelings, not dumping them all over others, okay, or spewing them all over social media, but processing them through sacred practices such as dance meditation. And there are many great facilitators offering dance meditation, and to those of you in lockdown, you can look up on Eventbrite, Open Floor, 5 Rhythms, Shamanic Dance, Ecstatic Dance. These are, or you can, I've got on my website Chakra Workout, which is an album to dance and shaking, you know, or you can make your own playlist on Spotify or in iTunes of angry music that you fucking love and just let that out. And also help your kids, you know, normalize that anger is a part of the full spectrum of human emotion, okay? Sometimes we feel dark, sometimes we feel black, we feel navy, we feel brown, we feel khaki, and that's part of being human. So, you know, I've said to clients over the years, it's great to get one of those plastic Valkyrie horn helmets and get some cheap plates from the Opportunity or thrift shop and smash some plates with your kids, yeah? And with each plate you say, I'm angry about this, and you have some fun with your anger so that you can enjoy embodying the destructive force that is the dark in a way that is playful, which is positive Aries, and creative and fun and safe. Because if we don't acknowledge that energy, it's going to come out, okay, coming ready or not. So better that, you know, they say better the devil you know, better that we embrace our shadow, our dark side, our lower self, which is our child and our inner teenager, and hold space for them by letting them vent everything they feel angry about. So if you're sitting home depressed, chances are you need to throw a tantrum. And not just a regular tantrum, a cosmic tantrum. A tantrum where you abuse God, okay? An epic tantrum, okay? Because that will get the energy moving again, okay? And the divine is bigger, okay, than, you know, whatever you can throw at it, okay? So don't be worried about the vengeance of God coming down on you, okay? That's a human mind projection, okay? They can take it. Let it out, okay? Because the divine wants you to be truly alive. Doesn't want you to live a half-life, okay? Like the zombie apocalypse, just doing what you're told, afraid to be truly who you are. Jen said, so true, better out than in. Yeah. It's time. It's time for us to be truly authentic, truly transparent. That's how we return to living in the consciousness of Eden, which I speak about in my book, sacred union. You know, if we're not transparent with ourselves, how can we create truly authentic relationships with others, be it family, friends, you know, our kids, our employees? You know, enough of this facade. It's bullshit, okay? Everybody who's got a facade is miserable beneath it, okay? That's politicking. And if we don't want to live in a world of politics, we need to start embodying truth in every choice that we make, in every interaction that we have. So I think that's enough. I've spoken for nearly an hour. If you have felt that this has been helpful, you're very welcome to share it. And check out those resources in the description, the links. And it would be my honor to initiate as many brothers as possible starting November 1st, because this is when the sun will be moving through the constellation of the awakened man called Ophiuchus. And this was a power window in the ancient world where they would raise the twin serpents, the meridians of sacred feminine masculine energy. And that's done through empowering the 7 faces of the god and the goddess within. So for those of you guys that are ready to be initiated, are ready to step into your full power, click the link to the Rainbow Warrior course, and I look forward to joining you November 1st. Thanks for those of you who joined me live, and blessings on your full moon. Go have a dance. Okay, ciao for now.